Hey guys, it's Ken Maxfield, the Hide Guy here. It is Friday afternoon. It's time for my weekly market update. This week we saw the Packers come out with offer lists that were not nearly as populated as the past couple of weeks. Of course, the last 2-3 weeks they've been laying claims to selling quite a number of hides. However, this has not been reflected in the export report, which we'll get to about the export report for this week. But that said, limited offers at the last ask, if not a dollar or two higher, depending on the packer, depending on the selection. Overall, the week got off to a relatively sluggish start. Some people saying, the lack of offers, higher prices, packers refusing to negotiate prices. So there really wasn't a whole lot of action happening. However, then on Thursday, when the USDA export report came out and there were 1,105,000 wet salted hides sold and another 182,800 wet blue hides, which ended up being the largest export sales report on record. Interesting to note, though, that's only 5,000 hides higher than the week ending October 8th of 2007. Took some time to look that one up. But anyhow, a very impressive number. Lots of questions, concerns over where they all sold that particular week, where there's some carryovers, where some people sitting on sales. Regardless of what happened, I do think, bases the tone of the market, the chatter I've been hearing, the last 3 weeks, if you add them together, I think they're correct. Now, that said, I took some time too to go over the last 5 weeks. So if we look at the last 5 weeks of harvest, the harvest has averaged 623,000 animals. Sales for the 5 weeks, including yesterday's report, 616,000. So the people selling hides cleared their weekly production, which was probably needed because they had not been doing that. Because if we go back and we look at year-to-date numbers, as I'm scrolling down here, the weekly harvest has been 615,000, weekly sales 531. So we're about 85,000 hides short every week. Now, again, that doesn't account for anything for the domestic soak. Hypothetically, we'll give them credit that the domestic soak's 35,000 hides, so that's 50,000 hides a week. A case can be made that these guys still have hides to sell. But if you talk to any of the packers, they'll tell you that they're sold through the month of September. Some say that they're sold through October. So that could set up a pretty interesting week of trading next week. As far as the harvest this week, packers were able to buy cattle cheaper. That encouraged them to push the slaughter up a little bit. They also got a little bit more money in the boxes. So last week we're at 626. This week we have 645,000. Packers also were able to knock live cattle prices down further second half of this week. So if I had to give a guess for next week, I'm thinking we're going to be somewhere between 640, 650 on that knock because we have the Labor Day holiday coming up, and there's still plenty of time to kill cattle next week. Get it into the box, get it to the retailer, and get it to the consumer. So look for a larger harvest number next week. As far as a quick peek around the globe, continue to hear chatter that Australia kill numbers are starting to slow down there a little bit. A little better demand. I think the prices are up off the bottom. Most would say maybe $1 or $2. I know some would like to tell you it's more, but definitely you cannot buy at the bottom of the market. But these guys are digging in and holding for steady prices. Down in Brazil, I think the same situation. I'm hearing from people that market is up off the bottom a little bit. A little better prices. TR1 sold at a range of 65 to 70 cents depending on the producer, and even lower grades went up a little bit too. Europe is still struggling, it appears. I mean, holidays are going on. The Italians are starting to poke their heads around trying to buy. I mean, there's a decent number of wet blue hides sold to the Italians on yesterday's report, but prices unchanged in Europe. Some even say they're a little lower as they're still struggling. There's some warehouses still got some hides there. So that looks like it's still a bit of a mess. So overall, I'm going to call the market certainly firm. I don't know if it's necessarily higher. The higher money that I find being traded in the United States is coming from traders as opposed to tanners, as most tanners are reluctant to pay more. So end of the day, market is steady. I look for limited offers next week, and probably wouldn't surprise me if we saw higher asking prices. So that's your 5-minute update. Ken Maxwell, the Hide Guy. check out my website, www.themaxfieldreport.com, and I do offer free 2-week trials. Scroll down the bottom of the page, click on the button. Look forward to you taking a trial with me. Thanks, and have a great weekend.